Save the Cinema is such a sweet film. This is based on a true story that I had never heard of. I don't have any recollection of having heard of this before, so I'm really glad I had a reason to learn about this. But I won't spoil ultimately what happens in case, like me, you go in with not a lot of knowledge about this. This was released in 2022. It's directed by Sarah Sugarman, written by Piers Ashworth, and we have a cast including Samantha Morton, Jonathan Pryce, Tom Felton, Rhod Gilbert. I didn't know Rhod Gilbert was in this, and I was rather happy when he popped up. And the story is about Liz Evans, the true story of Liz Evans, who was a youth theatre leader, a youth theatre group leader in Carmarthen in Wales. And in the 90s, they were going to shut down the Lyric Theatre, and she decided that this just wasn't acceptable. It's really important to the community. They were going to, at least in the film, they were going to knock it down to build a shopping centre. I don't know if that's the reason in real life. I'm assuming it is. And she decided to, well, I probably could say what she did, but just in case you don't want to know, I'll save it for the end. But she does something quite spectacular to try and save the cinema. I'll expand on that in a little bit with a spoiler warning. It's probably not a spoiler, it is kind of what it's about, but just in case you don't want that extra information, I will hold it back for now. It's a really lovely story about a community coming together, about one woman's efforts to try and stop this from happening, and everybody rallying around her. We have a great soundtrack as well, which I wasn't expecting to this extent, because, as I said, Liz Evans is a leader of a youth theatre group, and they're putting on a production of Oliver. So we get to hear some songs from Oliver, which is really great. So I rather enjoyed that as well. We have some great characters. I don't know how true they are to the real individuals. If anybody has any thoughts on that, please feel free to share. Some really great performances, of course. And as far as I know, it was actually filmed in and around Carmarthen, which is quite nice. Visually, quite a nice place as far as I can tell. I've never been, but it looks beautiful. And in general, it's a really beautiful, moving, heartwarming, inspirational story. It's very sweet. It's a little funny. It's not necessarily laugh out loud funny, but there was one moment that tickled me. Again, I'll explain what that moment is with a spoiler warning in a little bit. But I rather enjoyed it. It's an easy watch. It's emotional, but it's not too heavy. It doesn't get too heavy. In fact, it's emotional in a very positive way. I was so happy with the experience that I definitely got quite emotional, and it was beautiful to see. If it sounds like something that will appeal to you, and I think it will have wide appeal. I think if you're a film fan, then it's worth watching, because it's just a really beautiful experience. Save the Cinema is a really fantastic film. I will now give a couple of, not really spoilers, but I'll explain the thing that she does. I'll also tell you the bit that I think is really funny. The spoiler, not really a spoiler, but what Liz does to try and save the cinema is she decides to write a letter to Steven Spielberg to screen Jurassic Park. And we learn, obviously it happens in the film, but at the very end of the film, there's text on screen telling us what the characters ended up going on to do. There are one or two famous faces there, which I wasn't aware of. So I won't spoil the very, very end, but definitely stick around for the text at the end, because it's quite cool. And at the very end, we learn that Spielberg did give a copy of Jurassic Park for the Lyric Theatre, for the Lyric Cinema, and they did screen it, and they were the very first cinema in the UK to screen it, because apparently, according to the text on screen, it screened 5 minutes before the London premiere. That is so awesome. I thought that was really, really brilliant. And the bit, it's probably not that funny, but the bit that made me laugh is when Liz finds out that Spielberg's going to phone in half an hour. She's actually in the middle of doing somebody's hair. She's also a hairdresser. And the lady whose hair she's dyeing says, "You're the only person I will let do my hair." So she ends up making their way to the mayor's office, hair half dyed, ready to finish the job there. It was just a funny transition from one scene to the next. I rather liked it quite a lot. It's a lovely film. It's a little funny, maybe more than a little funny. There are definitely some really strong comedy moments, but it's a really beautiful narrative with some great characters, really wonderful performances. And if it sounds like something that might appeal to you, if you're a fan of Spielberg and you want to hear this part of the story, I think you'll really thoroughly enjoy it. Save the Cinema is definitely worth watching.